Hi, it's Maria from Women into Wellness, and in this video I'm going to share with you 3 reasons as to why you should quit sugar. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, then go ahead and do so, because if you're interested in nutrition and how nutrition affects your health, wellness and well-being, then you're going to love some of the videos that I've got coming up for you over the next few weeks. So let's get started on the 3 reasons as to why you should quit sugar. Well, the first reason is that sugar is actually a toxin. It's one of the 4 consumable toxins that we take in on the body that can overload our liver and lead to us having and developing inflammation within the body. Just so you know, the other 4 toxins are alcohol, sugar, trans fats and low fiber consumption. More about those on some of the upcoming videos, so make sure you do subscribe. Now, what happens is that when we take on board toxins in the body, the liver, as we know, is one of the main powerhouses of detoxification. There are other detoxification pathways within the body, but the liver takes on one of the big jobs of doing so. When we take on sugar, we overload the liver and it starts to divert its detoxification process towards getting rid of the sugar instead of getting rid of some of the other harmful substances or toxins within the body. Some of these might be toxins we've taken on board, and some of them might be ones that are just created as byproducts as part of our natural physiological processes. Either way, your sugar is diverting liver from doing its job in moving these other toxins out of the body, and so the sugar starts to overload it. This can result in inflammation within the body, systemic inflammation, as well as localized inflammation within the liver itself. Localized inflammation in the liver can contribute to certain conditions such as fatty liver disease, which is a problem because then your liver is then unhealthy and it's not working in the way it should to detoxify your body. Also, if you have systemic inflammation, even that means inflammation throughout the rest of your body, then what this means is it can start to contribute towards developing various ailments, illnesses, conditions and diseases that are caused by inflammation. And in fact, it's generally considered that most diseases in the body have a root cause that can be linked to inflammation of some sort. So inflammation is something we really don't want in the body, and that is one good reason to reduce your consumption of sugar. Now, your reason number 2 is going to build upon reason number 1, because when you have inflammation within the body, you have this propensity to develop certain diseases and conditions. So let's start with some of the conditions, and these are going to be things that will affect your daily life but are not necessarily life-threatening. So lower energy levels or energy slumps and tiredness, particularly after eating a meal or a sugary snack. Having mood swings and irritability because of these fluctuations in blood sugar. Having more addictive or reliance behaviours and habits upon the foods that you eat, leading to you or feeding into that feeling of being a bit hangry. And again, this affects your mood, but also has a more serious effect because it then becomes an addictive behaviour, something that you rely upon that's harder to change. It can also cause you to have effects with your skin. So your skin is not going to be as healthy as it can be. It's not going to look as useful as it can because you have products called AGEs. There's a whole physiological process behind that, a bit beyond the scope of this video today, that are produced within the body. And these AGEs cause sort of not premature aging, but aging of cell tissue, not just the skin, but all of the cells within your body. So you're potentially aging the cells within your body much faster than they would naturally age because you are eating excess amounts of sugar. There are lots of other conditions as well, so I can only touch on some of them here, but let's go through some of the digestive issues. So it can cause upset with your microbiome balance. So this is called a situation or a condition known as dysbiosis within the gut. So the balance of good or bad bacteria is upset. And this can cause things like having diarrhea, constipation from any one day to the next, to more serious conditions, ailments or diseases, such as having inflammatory bowel disease, ulcerative colitis, and issues where you're having acid reflux and so on. So it's really important to think about all of these because they give you motivation. If you were thinking about quitting sugar, you probably knew it wasn't good for you. Let's start thinking about some of the risk factors that it's making you more likely to develop certain conditions, certain ailments, illnesses or diseases because it's inflammatory, especially if it's systemic inflammation, which is that body-wide, that global inflammation. It can cause things like arthritis. It can exacerbate arthritis. This is inflammation of the joints. And it can also cause issues with how our brain communicates. So short-term memory, so that's in the immediate sense, you can have problems with short-term memory. You can also then have a more likely propensity or risk of developing degenerative cognitive conditions such as dementia, Alzheimer's. Research has shown there is a link between these things, and the overconsumption of sugar and the problems that causes, the systemic inflammation that causes in the body, directly then linked to degenerative cognitive conditions. Now there's a load more, as I said. We've got cardiovascular disease, heart disease. These kind of things, and hypertension within the body are problems that you really want to avoid. And then of course we're going to now follow on to our third one, which is again related to the conditions that it can cause, but I'm giving it its own category here of being number 3 on its own, because this is directly related to blood sugar. And this is the balancing of hormones within the body. Because when you take on too much sugar, you go into a state generally known as hyperglycolysis. There's too much sugar in the body that your body needs to deal with, your body needs to eradicate, it needs to move on, or it needs to transform into other forms of energy it can store within the body. And when you have too much sugar, your blood sugar levels increase, insulin increases. When this happens over time and it's something that's long term and it becomes a chronic situation, it can then actually cause something called insulin resistance, which means that your body doesn't respond to the hormone insulin in the way that it should. Hormone is released to transport the sugar out of the blood when there's too much of it and store it, allow it to be stored elsewhere in the body, in other cells, in other tissues, in other organs. When we have a resistance to insulin, we're more likely to develop metabolic conditions. Some of these might be things such as having type 2 diabetes, which is where this insulin relationship to sugar is not working effectively in the body. It can be managed through diet, it can be reversed. This is why I'm telling you this now, so that it gives you motivation as to why you want to quit sugar. So really thinking about that, once you know how it affects the blood sugar levels and this fine-tuned balance of insulin within the body, how that manages blood sugar, then you're going to start to understand why it is that when we take on too much sugar, we start to then store too much body fat. And this is probably one of the first things you knew, right, about having too much sugar. I've left it to the end because it was almost a given. When you consume too much sugar, you're more likely to store more fat on the body. But it's linked to these other things as well. So the insulin that we're talking about where the fat gets stored in the body, it's more likely to be stored around the midriff. And when you have fat around the midriff, that increases your risk of developing other conditions or illnesses. Conditioning of developing all these metabolic diseases and heart-related diseases, cardiovascular-related diseases. So it's really important when you are considering not just the fat that is being put on the body, but it's the effect that fat has on the rest of your health as well. That hopefully gives you some motivation as to think about why you're going to want to quit sugar, because I have just given you all of these condition, ailments, diseases, risk factors that are combined together within this sort of negative effect of having an overconsumption of sugar. Now listen, I've given you 3 reasons as to why you want to quit sugar. So now I'm going to help you out. If you are serious about quitting sugar, if you want to kick your sugar habit to the curb, if you have a sugar addiction or you're addicted to one type of sugary food, for example, chocolate or pastries or sugary drinks, and you really need help and support to kick that habit for good, and you want to do it without feeling deprived, because life shouldn't be about deprivation, right? We still need to have sweetness in our lives in some way, shape or form. then I have got a solution for you, because I have created a workshop. This workshop, I will pop the link below, is called Quit Sugar and Ditch Your Sweet Tooth. It's a workshop that combines together my proprietary method for finding evidence-backed, science-based solutions that holistically combine together to give you the most powerful transformational experience when we are looking at making lifestyle, habit and behavioral changes to better serve our wellness and well-being. I've packaged this all up for you in this wonderful workshop. It's linked down below. So again, it's called Quit Sugar and Ditch Your Sweet Tooth. And what it's got in there is all of the bite-sized chunks of information. It's the science made simple so that you can understand exactly why you need to quit sugar, because that provides a lot of the motivation. It's got all of the tools and the strategies that you're going to need to put into place what I am advising you to do within the workshop, because there's no point knowing that you should quit sugar. There's no point understanding why you want to quit sugar if you don't then implement it and make change. This workshop helps you be held accountable to actually make that change, take small, consistent steps so that you can have lifelong change and be free from your dependency on sugar for good. So check out the link below, click on it now, because this can change your life for the better in so many ways. And until the next video, there's going to be a bit more on sugar coming your way, so make sure you do subscribe. I thank you for watching this video and I wish you well. Bye bye.